Welcome back to the Guerrilla Collective, Black Voices in Gaming. We have an amazing guest, Tyriq Plummer, who has been in the space for a long time, making games independently, AAA, just dope stuff. We're going to be playing Catcomb Kids, but let's say hello to Tyriq.
Hey.
What's up, Tyriq?
It's all good?
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good. You're in the East Bay, right?
I am, yes.
You're in Oakland?
North. I'm like really far north in the East Bay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think we met for the first time at one of like the East Bay meetups, and it like when I spoke with you a little bit, it was awesome to hear about your work at Way Forward, right? And like
Yeah, I worked at Way Forward a while ago. Yeah, I did some stuff for them. Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about your experience in the game industry and what you've kind of done and accomplished and how you've maneuvered?
Well, I started off, I guess, just doing pixel art and animation for games. That's where most of my resume is, I guess. I did some work for Way Forward. I worked on the DS4 game. I worked on the Epic Mickey DS game. Oh man, now I'm trying to actually remember all the things I've done. It's a lot.
No, it's all good.
worked on Adventure Time, Explore the Dungeon Because I Don't Know. I worked on Cadence of Hyrule most recently. Mostly doing animation.
That's
awesome.
Animation,
pixel art for all those things. Yeah,
that's cool.
And so my background is primarily as an artist and animator.
Cool. This guy couldn't even wait. He jumped into Catcomb Kids.
I had to wait.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My bad.
I can hear it. I can hear it in the background.
The rumble feature was off the chain for a second.
Oh boy.
But the depth of Catcomb Kids has been amazing. I know you've been working on it for quite a while, and it's evolved over time as you've been working on it.
Yeah, I've been working on it for, I guess it depends on when you start counting from, but either like 7 or 10 years. I'm not sure which at this point.
So when you, because we saw the Kickstarter, the successful Kickstarter, how like you busted that out. Was that in the middle? Like when was that launched? Was that 2014 or?
Yeah, that was at the end of 2013. So 2014 was basically the first year that I ever had a full year of development on the game. Because before that, it was just sporadically between classes, between work and all that sort of thing. And after I did the Kickstarter, that funded me being able to actually make this game as a job instead of just once every 3 to 4 weeks or months or whenever I had time.
Yeah. So the game is in early access, and you're still like evolving the play and everything.
Yes. Yeah. I'm still working on it. Most of the core systems and stuff have been implemented now, and currently what I'm working on is just adding environments, more environments and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I've been working on the third environment for the past few months, which is called the Deep Dark, which is going to be like horror themed. And I couldn't decide between body horror and giant insects, so I decided to go with both.
That's
awesome. Now the two factions are like giant bugs and just like horror, like nasty gross things.
Yeah. The game feels so tight, and polished, like the mechanics and everything. Can you kind of share how those evolved over time?
Yeah. So like I said, depending on when you start counting from, I've been working on this game for like a decade, essentially. The very first iterations of the game were basically just me learning how to code. And I really kind of hate level design. So I decided to steal someone else's procedural level generator and turn that into slap a platformer engine on top of that.
Yeah.
But it never felt quite right because I was using all these different disparate parts that I had kind of taken from other projects to try and learn from. And at some point I was like, you know what, I just need to do this all over from scratch now that I've learned for myself what I actually want this game to be, and how to do things properly. I started recoding things from scratch, and I did that 2 more times before I finally came to the current sort of version of the game. But to me, like, one of the important things in game design for me is that whatever you're doing the most should probably be as fun as you can possibly make it. And since this is a platformer, moving around and jumping around and platforming and fighting are the things you're doing the most. And so I spent a lot of time just getting it to feel good moving around levels and that sort of thing. That's like a very high priority. Like, that's the first thing I do whenever I start any new project, is just to make sure that whatever you're doing most feels good to do.
That's like definitely good advice. In the game, you feel a lot of agency because of the physics involved and how you can pick stuff up and throw it around and, you know, utilize different tools to your advantage, which is really interesting. So on this project, was that the first time you really jumped into coding yourself?
Essentially, yeah. I mean, so I've been using Game Maker since I was like, I want to say like 13 or 14 or so. I've been using it for a long while. But for a lot of that, I was just using like the drag and drop functionality and stuff. But just, you know, over the course of, I guess at this point, it's been decade and a half or so. It's hard not to pick up how to do things better if you're working with something as consistently and with the intent of improving, like I've been, or at least like I hope I've been.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, like, kind of jumping back. So, when you started, did you start game development in high school or in college, and then just jumped into the industry with a job? Like, how did that come about?
So, while I was doing freelance work, doing pixel art and animation, like I mentioned before, while I was doing that, I was also teaching myself how to use these game development tools. Because, like, the reason I learned pixel art in the first place is, well, partially because I couldn't afford Photoshop or anything like that, and it was like, oh, I just used Paint, you know. It's like, yeah, I use the tools that are available to me. I'm not making a big drawing in Paint. I'm just going to do a bunch of pixel art.
Yeah.
But my intention has always been, like, I want to make games. Like, I've wanted to make games ever since I found out that was a thing people could do as a profession, you know? And so I went into it with the intention of learning pixel art and then becoming... So, okay, this is kind of a weird story.
Yeah, go for it, man. No, just keep going. It's interesting.
My, like, true passion has always been animation. Like, I wanted to be an animator and I wanted to work on cartoons and stuff. But I've still always loved, like, parallel to that, I always wanted to make games. And so I always envisioned a future for myself in which I would be working in the animation industry and making games as a hobby. But at some point, I started making games as a profession instead, and decided to just switch gears and pursue that course of action. Because I went to like community college and got an associate's degree in fine art, and was going to transfer to a university for animation degree. But by that time, I had already been doing pixel art for these games and doing freelance and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? I don't really feel like I need to go to a university and spend all that money on a degree. If I'm already halfway in the industry that I want to be in, you know, I can just keep doing this and build up my portfolio that way. And maybe at some point I can make the jump to animation industry, or if this works out, I can just keep doing this. And so far it's worked out better than I ever imagined it would. So yeah.
That's a dope route to go. I ended up going to the Art Institute for game art and design, and exactly what you were talking about transpired. I wasted a lot of money, but
right.
Some of the folks there were amazing. My friends. Most of it is experience anyway. So I gained most of the traction through my experience and through my friends and just trying to do stuff. So I personally, you know, every time I have someone ask me, how do you get into the industry? How do you do stuff? It's like, just like kind of like what Tony said, right? Like just make stuff all the time.
Yes, exactly.
You have to, or else you're not. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say people have asked me before, like what should they do to start making games, and then my advice is always the same: just start, just do what you can, and what areas you're lacking. To drop through bridges like that, you can either double tap down or press down and left trigger. And you can use left trigger to dodge enemies as well. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Sammy struggling.
He's
like, this dude is terrible.
No.
No, it's actually pretty good because I think you started on my save.
Did I? Oh my god.
Or maybe early on or something.
Yeah.
I figure like you may have missed the tutorial. The game does have a tutorial, but
yeah, I was like, I don't need any tutorial.
Yeah, I needed a tutorial because when I started playing, I was like dying left and right, and I was like, oh, that's how you dodge roll. Oh, that's how you like jump heights. That's what I'm saying. Like the mechanics are really tight, and there's so many. They're layered on top of each other, which is great.
Right. Yeah. I mean, making tutorials is so hard. Like making a good tutorial, especially when it's a game like this where there's just so many interactions and so much stuff. It's something I still struggle with. I'm probably going to rewrite the tutorial like 3 more times before they call the game done.
Yeah. How was your experience like getting the game out there, like marketing it and stuff? Because you basically self-published this, right?
Yeah. So I did the Kickstarter at the end of 2013, and that went well. And I think that helped a lot in like updating the people who had backed the game and that sort of thing, and keeping them appraised of the game's progress. Helped when I finally went into early access. I kind of already had a base of players who could sort of vouch for me and vouch for the game's quality and its progress, and sort of use that as a launching pad to leverage into having an actual player base. And I think as well, like having just friends in the game industry and game community and that sort of thing that are kind of, I guess, prominent voices in this sort of thing. That's so one thing that I feel like I've been really, I can't tell if it's luck or what, but I feel like I've been lucky to know people and who can speak on my behalf and vouch for my character as a game developer.
That comes with hard work.
Yeah.
And making shit happen, like honestly, I know, like, because you're normally in social settings you're pretty quiet, right, and reserved. I don't know. I don't want to like make an assumption, but like
no, you're not wrong. It's just I've never had someone like say it so directly.
Okay.
But yes,
because
I'm not generally a gregarious person.
Yeah, but I
like to find a quiet corner.
Yeah, but your reputation always precedes you. Like, I see what you're doing, and we talk for a minute, but I kind of understand like where you're coming from, because we talk to all different types of people, and it is awesome to like, see what you're doing and like kind of catch up on, I'm doing this, and this, and I'm, working on your game. So it's great to talk about that. I mean, I think it's interesting also that you went, dolo for this, and you're, you know what I mean? Like you self-published it. Are you releasing on multi-platform as well? Are you waiting?
So I'm essentially kind of just waiting until the game gets close to being done, which might take another year or two. I don't know. At this point, I've given myself so many deadlines and passed by them all, that I'm just kind of, at this point, I've resigned myself to, you know what? I'm just going to not stress myself out. I'm going to work on it for as long as it needs to be worked on. And I'm taking on other work in the meantime, know? And so it's like, like when the game is close to done, then I'm going to, and that's also like why I've been hesitant to like, I've only shown it in like public settings, I think like 2 or 3 times, even though the game has existed for 7 years or so. Just because I want to make sure that like I'm showing it, and then I can immediately act on people's interests and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, here's the game. Now it's done. Go play it. Be part of the community and all that stuff. So I'm kind of really reserved when it comes to like advertising it as it is incomplete in my eyes, even though I know a lot of people tell me not to anyway.
Yeah, I was about to say, the game is so deep. Like, we get it out there. But I can't wait till, you're releasing it on, multi-platform, because I think it's
I definitely want
sick.
to. I really, really want to.
Yeah. Were you gonna say something?
No, it's like I'd love to see it on the Switch platform and play it.
Everyone's
Me too.
What other projects do you have in the pipeline that you're working on concurrently?
So I just finished up Cadence of Hyrule. I mentioned that. I was doing art and pixel art and animation for that. I'm working on UFO 50 with Derek Yu and and Paul Hubens and John Perry. So yeah, they brought me on to basically help them finish all the games, because they were like, 50 games is too many. We have them all prototyped, but it's going to take a while to finish them, so we need help. So they brought me on to help with that. And I'm also working on a game called Atgatha in Absurdia, which is a game I made earlier this year for 7-Day Roguelike. And nice. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and so now I'm currently continuing work on it, and I'm porting it to mobile and like Android and iOS and that sort of thing. Nice. And I have another game that I made. Was it last year? I can't remember. Time has no meaning. No, I think it was like the year before last year. Yeah, the year before last year, I made a game for Fantastic Arcade called Paper Planet Pop, which I will probably also revisit and port to mobile. So here's something that I learned about myself is after working on Catcomb Kids as my sole project for like 2 or 3 years after the Kickstarter, it became like really unhealthy to only have this one outlet. And so being able to work on things like Cadence and work on things like UFO, even though it seems like it's more work, and it is more work to be doing more than one thing at a time, being able to step away from the game and change gears is definitely like really helpful just for my mental health and also my creativity, because I'm not banging my head against the wall whenever I come against a problem that I can't solve. I can change gears, work on something else for a while, and then come back to it with new eyes. So yeah, I try to keep busy.
That was my next question, is like, how do you, it must be refreshing jumping into like those other projects, because I know how it is. Like I did the same
and they're all
thing.
so different too.
Yeah.
So that helps as well.
That's really cool. So man, I want to ask you so many questions, but we don't have too much time. We got to connect again pretty soon. But how you're in the Bay Area, it's definitely different. Like, it's very progressive out here. We've seen a lot of protests and things happen. What has been your experience out here, as a game developer during these times?
It's still stressful. It still hurts to see all that's going on, and honestly, it's like something I'm still sorting through in my head. I don't know if I'd be able to elaborate it. I'm not very good at coming up with profound things on the fly, which is why usually I just retweet what other people say that's way more impactful than I ever could manage, I feel like. But yeah, I don't know. It sucks. Everything sucks right now.
Yes, that is a very
that's good
way to say it. Yes.
I think the thing is, it's just everything is so happening rapidly. Like as I said before, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say everything is happening rapidly, and also so much is happening at once. Like it's all the protests and the Black Lives Matter and stuff on top of the pandemic that's still going on. And all these other things, it's just like it's overwhelming, to try that's why I'm just like, you know what, I'm just gonna try and keep doing what I can to create and be productive. Like, I make games, I make art, I make music too. That's like another passion of mine, even though I don't publicize that as much. But like I my goal in life is to just like, and this is a goal I set for myself when I was like 18. I just up and decided like my goal in life is to produce more than I consume. And I don't know that I've been keeping up with that, but it's like, it's something that I'm still striving for. And so I just want to keep creating and doing what I can.
That's awesome. I mean, that's inspiring enough. And I find myself fighting this as well. Like, I want to have a voice. I want to go outside and, carry a sign and all that. But what can I do that is, innate to me, right? Like,
right. Yeah. That's kind of that's a great way of putting it, because that's kind of how I've been feeling too. Is like, you mentioned earlier, I'm not a loud person. I'm like, even when I try to be loud and raise my voice, I just feel like I'm not good at it, And so I feel like the best I can do is just to leverage the strengths that I do have and try and use those for good. And if that garners me an audience, then I'll use that platform to try and put a good message out into the world. And
I think that's very powerful, and that is a profound way to look at things. Is sometimes you have to use your art as a voice, your production, you're producing things, and then people are going to grasp it, feel inspiration from that, and that kind of speaks louder sometimes than your words, but you're on Steam. You could purchase it early access. I gotta shout out Steam too, because they are streaming this right now, which is super awesome. And I wasn't able to, I didn't articulate that too well earlier, but yeah, Black Voices in Gaming, we have a page up so you can purchase these games. Tyriq's game, Catcomb Kids, some of the other games, but we want to thank you, Tyriq, for hopping on. It means a lot for you to express your passion and how you're doing things. It's inspiring.
Thank you for having me on. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, so
we got to talk more.
Yeah, exactly. We got to talk more when this COVID situation. We gotta hang out because we're all in the Bay, right? So
yeah,
cool. Well, thanks a lot for hopping on.
All right, cool. Take care.
Peace.